Okay, this is Paul with Clever Recluse Games. It is about 7 o'clock, and I am here today to talk about I Am Minotaur. And specifically, what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about what makes I Am Minotaur as opposed to a game like Dungeons and Dragons, and why you might be interested in playing I Am Minotaur even if you have other games that you play normally. Now, one question that I always get is why is the game called I Am Minotaur as opposed to I Am the Minotaur or I Am a Minotaur? Well, the reason why we call it I Am Minotaur is because we want it to be an adjective, if that makes sense. Being a minotaur is actually more of a state of mind than it is just like a character race or something like that. So, unlike say Dungeons and Dragons, where a minotaur is one of many different races that you can play, in this game you are the minotaur. That is all you can be. You can be a minotaur, and a minotaur has a certain mindset, which is unique and is different from everybody else, and that is one of the reasons why um, it is called I Am Minotaur. Okay, first things first. One reason why it is so different is we have a code of honor here, a Minotaur code of honor. All Minotaurs abide by this code to a certain extent. All PC Minotaurs actually abide by it to a certain extent. Um, and as you can see here, this is just an aside, we have an entire book completely finished here. As you can see, there are spaces, and that's going to be for the art. And what we are raising funds for is just the art. We can get into careers later, blah, 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 probably not tonight. But for today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at this code of honor. We're going to be looking at character creation and how characters are generated, because that's where I'm getting a lot of questions from. Let's see. First of all, Minotaurs abide by a code of ethics. All PC Minotaurs do have to follow this code to some extent. This code is what we are, and to live without the code is to exist without meaning. But let's examine the code and see how it affects players and player characters on a gaming basis. Um, Number one, a Minotaur carries no secrets and speaks freely. Now, I will say that there definitely are player character Minotaurs who do not follow this rule, but any sort of skullduggery or double dealing, if it's caught, is considered blasphemous in a Minotaur society. So generally minotaurs tend to be more plain spoken than humans or elves or even most AD&D or Dungeons and Dragons type of characters. There isn't a whole lot of stabbing in the back. There isn't a whole lot of characters plotting against each other. And in a game term, it's a really, really bad idea to be plotting against each other as a Minotaur, because Minotaur society is so hostile towards new characters. So everybody does want to work together, and this first this first rule really does help Minotaurs out. It helps Minotaur characters and makes play a lot easier. Okay, the second, a Minotaur does not covet another's possessions. Possessions are only means to an end for Minotaurs. We do not steal, for that is cowardly. If we feel that another Minotaur's possessions are rightfully ours, we challenge them to an honor duel. The winner obviously deserves the item in question. Now that introduces a lot. A Minotaur does not covet another's possessions. I will say in playtesting, there have been a couple of times where Minotaurs have kind of almost stepped over that rule, but generally, most of the Minotaurs that we have played are not greedy and capricious. You probably, if you're a Minotaur, you probably shouldn't be stabbing another character in the back to get his +4 sword or whatever it is that you would get in another role playing game. And it does help Minotaurs work together a little bit better than in some campaigns and some other games. Um, we did Yeah, honor duels. Now that's a whole nother kettle of fish. Minotaurs do challenge each other to honor duels quite often, and the loser generally gets killed. What you really have to do is you have to make alliances, and you have to watch each other's backs. And when you're in a Minotaur town, you are not safe. It is not like even being in a human city or a human town. A Minotaur can come up and challenge somebody to an honor duel and kill them on the spot. So, usually, characters again have a motivation to work together. Now it says if lesser beings steal from us, we simply kill them. They know this and avoid stealing in our cities. This is true. Actually, I took this whole idea of a crime-free city from actually Vlad Tepes, who was the basis for Dracula. And in his cities, he was very fierce, and yes, he did. He did impale his enemies. And in his cities, what you could do is you could leave a pouch of gold out overnight in the town square, and it would still be there the next morning. And that's kind of where we're going with I Am Minotaur. If you leave, if you drop a pouch of gold in a Minotaur city, it will still be sitting right where you dropped it the next day. If challenged, a Minotaur should never be found wanting. Refusal to duel when called upon causes shame upon a Minotaur and their family. Any sort of magecraft or aid from others is intolerable in an honor duel. Yes. Generally, if someone is challenged in an honor duel, they should accept unless they are obviously physically so weak that it would be just certain death. Even low level characters against high level characters. If a high level character challenges a low level character to an honor duel, the low level character is expected to go out there and fight the high level character. Refusal to duel and calling, yes. And another aspect of Minotaur justice, and I use a bit of quotations there, is that things that affect the Minotaur have a tendency to affect their family also, their entire lineage to an extent, and we can go into that later on. But yeah, so as you can see, this is very different from other games. Other games tend to put the mechanics first. The way that the player's guide is organized, it is going to be the Code of Honor first, because the Code of Honor really makes I Am Minotaur what it is. Let me see. Okay, the next one. We do not honor duel with lesser beings unless they're foolish enough to initiate it. Humans and Fae are inherently dishonorable, and so we do not duel them unless they challenge us. In situations where they wrong us, we either kill them, which is easiest, or we walk through the charade of justice. And yeah, Minotaurs inherently believe themselves to be above humans and elves, so they would not honor duel a human or an elf. It would be a besmirchment of their honor simply to say, to challenge a human or an elf to an honor duel. Let me see here. If a Minotaur has wronged others, their entire bloodline is expected to pay the debt. And that was something we were kind of discussing earlier. If a Minotaur does something wrong, their entire family pays the price. It's not just them. If a Minotaur steals something, their entire family is punished. If a Minotaur stabs somebody in the back, their entire family is punished. In some circumstances, all worshippers of a certain deity are expected to pay for their forebears' actions, and that is something specific that we will get into with career classes, probably not tonight. And this is just as fruit does not fall far from trees, and justice along with virtue are in the blood. Meaning, that all Minotaurs are seen as guilt by family. And this is something that's very different, obviously, than modern day humans, and probably from elves too. All right. We thrive through want and do not feel it. Greed is for our lessers. For us, there is only glory and battle and greatness in our civilization. Oh, we have a question. Is it dishonorable for a Minotaur to decline an honor duel from a human or an elf? No, actually, well, yes, it is. It is dishonorable to for a Minotaur to decline, excuse me, an honor duel from a human or an elf. It says specifically, humans and Fae are inherently dishonorable, and so we do not duel them unless they challenge us. If the human or elf is inherently weak, say like a child, or has absolutely no martial training, um, then I would rule that it would not be dishonorable to decline. However, if the human is capable, and humans can be capable in this game, um, there may be a loss of face if the Minotaur decides to decline the honor duel. Really, it would depend on the GM. But that's a good question. Thank you. And it's good to hear that, see that somebody's listening in. Okay, let's see. If a Minotaur has wronged others, their entire bloodline, we did do that. We thrive through want and do not feel it. Greed is for our lessers. For us, there is only glory and battle and greatness in our civilization. Meaning, exactly, it's almost a restatement of an earlier tenet that we do not, yeah, the Minotaurs are not greedy. Minotaurs, it's not about gathering a whole bunch of gold pieces, getting a whole bunch of super duper weapons with Minotaurs. um, Characters have to find other motivations there, and that was, I put that in because I got tired of RPGs always being kind of the same, with everybody just trying to get as much loot and experience as possible. And I will say that in playtesting, we have found that a lot of characters do find other motivations besides. Glory definitely is one, though. Glory definitely appeals to most Minotaurs and most Minotaur characters. If a Minotaur has abilities that aid others, they should be generous with their gifts to the point of sacrificing their freedom. We are constantly under attack, and those who can aid us best should be required to do so. And again, that almost goes back to the blood debts and the blood sacrifices of the earlier points, um, and it almost reiterates it. But Minotaurs in particular covet healing more than anything. Healing is not easy to come by in this world. So a lot of the time, Minotaurs that can heal, they have to be very careful. And it's one of the few instances where you do have a Minotaur who tends to be misleading, because a Minotaur that openly shows off that they can heal, a lot of times they are taken as slaves or indentured servants. So you have to be very careful if you're a Minotaur that can heal. And that is it for the Code of Honor. And I do believe the Code of Honor does make a difference in the game. I have run some sessions without Code of Honor before we started it, and they tended to generate in a chaos. The Code of Honor really does solidify groups and uh, put them all towards a common goal. It's almost vital to the game itself. I would say it's probably one of the most vital things. You could tear out any one system of I Am Minotaur and arguably still be playing I Am Minotaur. But if you tear out this Code of Honor, it turns into some other odd game, more like a D&D campaign with a bunch of really big guys, which is not what we were going for here. Anyway, and again, this is Paul with Clever Recluse Games, and we are talking about I Am Minotaur. You don't remember you telling us about the Code of Honor before our first session? It actually sprung out. This is Dragonfire. He is one of our playtesters. I don't remember you telling us about the Code of Honor before our first session. It wasn't built yet before the first session of and was built mostly from your guys' play and another group's. And honestly, you guys kind of fashioned the code of honor through your actions and through the campaign, and the other group kind of they kind of stabbed each other in the back and did all sorts of things and acted very non-Minotaur. So that's pretty much how that came about. But I think you guys played by the code of honor. Would you agree with that? And we're waiting. I don't know if anybody else is on. If you are, welcome. Somewhat. Okay. Well, I think I thought it was mostly there, but however it works. Let me see. Role playing the Age of Minotaur. This is basic stuff. PC player characters are known as PCs. Um, the game requires a games master, a GM. As we all know, there is another term, but that is actually trademarked by Wizards of the Coast. So we use games master. Any character not controlled by the player is an NPC, and the game tends to use a lot of percentile dice. This is just Google's roller, and that's what we're going to use to build some of our character stuff today. Okay, what is a Minotaur? No reason to bother the players. Yes, but your character is probably the one exception class that would not necessarily follow the code of honor. Okay, we have another playtester here. And we were just talking about the Minotaur Code of Honor and what's going on with that. So anyway, right now we're talking about what is a Minotaur. Pretty much exactly the same as an ancient Greek myth. They have a tendency to go berserk. And what you have to watch for in this game is if a Minotaur does go berserk and attacks its companions. Most of the time, a Minotaur's mental deterioration is a gradual process, and symptoms are referred to as flaws. Flaws play an integral role to the game, and if you ever have more than 3 flaws, your character, excuse me, has more than 3 flaws, it is made an NPC. Okay. This discusses pivotal events in Minotaur history. Again, as you can see, we put this stuff at the front because this is probably the most important aspects of I Am Minotaur. We examine the Minotaur culture, and the GM's Guide also has a huge section on the Minotaur culture. Okay, character creation. This should be familiar to the playtesters. And by the way, guys, how am I sounding? Is everything good? Well, I guess it is. I guess everybody's hearing me okay. All right. Well, anyhow, if not, then I guess we'll just have to re-record everything. Oh, I sound good. Oh, excellent. Okay. All right. First base attribute is fitness, and fitness indicates a character's strength and stamina. Minotaurs are known for having a high fitness. They are big and strong, mostly. To, to find a Minotaur's PC's fitness score, the player rolls percentile dice, and if you're not familiar with percentile dice, they are 2d10, and you put 1 in the tens place and 1 in the ones place. So this would be 18 here. So this would be 18. We'll roll again just to get an idea. This is 77, which doesn't help too much. Let's do one more. and that is actually 50. The 10 reads as 0. So for fitness, what you do is you roll the percentile dice 3 times and you select one result. So let's count. Easy. Okay, 56, 26, and 41. So we have 56 here as the highest result, and then you get to add 20 to it. So the fitness would be 76. I'm going to write that down in the chat. All of I Am Minotaurs, it doesn't use 3 to 18 as their ability scores. It's all based on percentile. And fitness for a Minotaur can be anything from 30 to 120. So the next is wit, and wit is the skill of facile tongues, which means, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing facile correctly, but it's someone who is sharp, who always says the right thing. Now, Minotaurs, as you can imagine, don't always say the right thing. They tend to be blunt and honest. Although again, some of the playtesters' one of the playtesters' characters deliberately played a priest of a god who doesn't like, who is not blunt and honest. Let's just put it that way. And so they actually roll once and you subtract 10. So, okay, 69. And so it is going to be a 59. So we're going to type that into the chat. Wit 59. Just in case you can't see it, you're on a YouTube video later. Okay. Awareness. Awareness measures the PC's sense of their surroundings. Minotaurs tend to be pretty aware of what's going on around them, especially considering they're a threat of honor duels constantly. So what you get to do with that is you get to roll twice and select the best result. 24 and 31, of course. Okay, well, it is the 31. And I'll put that there. Okay, worldliness. Worldliness is how well read the Minotaur is. Minotaurs are not necessarily stupid. There is that whole conception that they're all kind of dumb. That is not true. Some of them are more well-read than others. But they aren't geniuses either necessarily, so they get one roll with no modifiers. 18. Okay, wow. This is something else. Okay. Then we have nimbleness. Nimbleness is dexterity, basically. Nimbleness measures a character's speed and agility. Minotaurs are not known for being super agile, so we will roll the dice and subtract 10. 63, 53. Okay. And resolve. Okay. Resolve, it measures the character's resilience, tenacity, and mental endurance. And as you can imagine, Minotaurs are pretty stubborn and have a lot of mental endurance, so you roll twice and you select the best result. 97, that's pretty good. 14, well, I know which one I'm picking. I'm going to pick the 97. Okay, influence. Influence measures how well the PC deals with other Minotaurs. And obviously some Minotaurs are more influential than others. And so we're just going to roll once. $73. All right. All right. And there are secondary attributes. Sometimes you need a calculator for these. Um, Secondary attributes are found by taking the average of two primary attributes. So you would add them both together and then divide by two. Let me see. For devotion, you would add resolve and influence, which is pretty nice. And devotion just is how much the Minotaur is wedded to a particular idea or set of characteristics. And so what we're going to do is I am using a calculator, and I'm sorry I did not put that on the screen. I will do it next time, I promise, but I'm going to add 97, which is the resolve, plus 73, which is the influence, and 170, and then divide it by 2, and that is 85. So devotion is going to be 85. And let me see. And okay, and then fearsomeness. Fearsomeness is take the fitness and the influence, and we divide it. 76 plus 73, 149 divided by 2, 74.5. I round up in fearsomeness, so it's 75. And what fearsomeness is it's how scary you are to humans and elves, essentially. Okay. Now, if I have two ability scores under 30, I get to re-roll one of them, which is pretty nice. But this 31 awareness puts me out, so I do not have any 2 under 30. Now, what I can do is I can take a flaw and assume a certain personality trait to keep them from performing at their best, but the flaw allows me to re-roll. Now, the question here is, do I re-roll awareness? I'm going to take a flaw. Do I want to re-roll awareness or re-roll worldliness? And I will ask the playtesters, since they're here, which one I should do. And I'm making sure they're awake. I don't know if anybody else is here. While they respond, this is Paul with Clever Recluse Games, and we are doing a stream for I Am Minotaur, and all of this is going to be on YouTube, so it's going to be all saved for posterity. Awareness. Okay, let's do awareness then. We're going to make this guy is going to be completely unworldly. He probably won't even be able to read and write, but daggone it, he will be a halfway decent warrior. And so we're going to roll. We take a flaw, and we'll figure out what that is later. And we're going to roll twice, and hopefully one of those will be higher than 31. If it's not, there's another rule that kicks in. So, but it will be better. 86, that's definitely better, and I get to roll again. 90. Okay, so my new awareness is now 90. Which is pretty great. And I will get a flaw, and what the flaw will do is this is a man who speaks from experience, and just in case you're just you can't see this because it's small on YouTube, what he says is, worldliness is low, but I've been backstabbed from being unaware, then gotten into trouble from not knowing answers to obscure questions. And when he says backstabbed, he had to deal with humans and elves in the past, basically, is what he's been saying. Um, so yeah, or people from his own order, because if you'll notice, he is the one who says, "Hey, wait a minute, I've been taking a bunch of gold." Yes, there is an order in I Am Minotaur that basically does allow for greed and avarice and stuff like that. So they don't follow the code of honor quite as much, but most Minotaurs do follow the code of honor. Anyway, um, and what a flaw will do is a flaw is some sort of weakness or some sort of personality trait that is seen as not beneficial, and you roll for it in the GM's guide. The GM guide has a guide for it. You do not get to choose what that is, and it's based on a lot on your class, on your career. So, for instance, sorcerers would have different flaws from priests and stuff like that. Okay. And really, this is going to be about it. Certainly am willing to take some questions, but right now we just talked about the basics, the beginning of the game, how to generate character statistics, and the beginning of I Am Minotaur. Are there any questions? I know that there are a couple of playtesters on there. Low stats can, yeah. I got unlucky and rolled that 18, which is pretty bad, but you can play with it. It's definitely a playable character. Is it the best character in the world? Probably not. But you could also take on, if you were really concerned about it, you could take on another flaw. Usually, after two flaws, it becomes hard to play the character, but you never know. You absolutely can. You can take another flaw and you could re-roll that low worldliness if you want. Are there any questions before we wrap up for the evening? And while people may be typing in, this is Paul with Clever Recluse Games, and this is our first stream for I Am Minotaur, our brand new tabletop role playing game that we have been working on for over 100 hours of playtesting, and so far it seems to be working pretty well. Um, but yeah, we are doing a Kickstarter. Please visit our Kickstarter page and follow us if you found this interesting. And we will put that in the description. We will put the link in the description. Anything else from any of you guys in on the chat? What would have been my choice? Well, it depends on the type of character I wanted to play. The nimbleness, what was my nimbleness? Nimbleness was 53. If I had wanted to be a sorcerer, I probably would change that worldliness. If I wanted to be a fighter type of character, I would have changed the awareness. It really would have depended on the type of character I wanted to play. If I'm if I'm comfortable being like a fire plug type of character, then I would probably would have changed the awareness, or I might have done both and gotten two flaws. Anything else? Well, okay, guys. If there's nothing else, I think it's going to be time to wrap up once again. Thank you guys. Oh, here comes one more. Can't think of any other questions. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. Everybody who's tuned in for. You really like the unique feel. You may carry on. I really like the unique feel of the system. That's great. Yeah, Kobrek is one of the playtesters, and both of these playtesters have been there since the beginning. And Dragonfire has given me a hard time, but he has been fantastic. He's been a really great help, and as has Kobrek. They both have been super awesome, and I certainly appreciate it. It's been a long road. This system has been in play in one way or another since I was 17, and I'm in my 50s now. So it's been a really, really long time coming. Anyway, guys, once again, follow us on the Kickstarter. I Am Minotaur. You should be able to find it, and we'll also put the link down in the description. And thanks again for tuning in. And if you're on YouTube, we're going to have some new stuff coming in. We're going to have some other videos coming in the next few weeks. Thanks again, and talk to you soon.